JaMarcus Russell. This one still hurts for Raiders fans. JaMarcus Russell had it all. A cannon arm, 6 feet 6 inches frame, and highlight reel swagger from LSU's 2007 Sugar Bowl. The Raiders saw destiny, gave him $61 million, and expected greatness. What they got was one of the biggest flameouts ever. He arrived late, overweight, and unmotivated. Coaches famously tested his film study habits by handing him blank tapes labeled game plan. He came back claiming he'd love the plays. That was Russell in a nutshell. Raw talent buried under apathy. On the field, he couldn't read defenses, held the ball too long, and melted under pressure. In 3 seasons, he threw 18 touchdowns to 23 picks before being cut. No injuries, no tragedy, just wasted potential. Every generation needs its cautionary tale, and for the 2000s, it was him. Today, when any new quarterback struggles, fans don't ask if he's bad. They ask if he's JaMarcus bad. Ryan Leaf. The 1998 NFL Draft came down to 2 quarterbacks, Peyton Manning, the prodigy, and Ryan Leaf, the powerhouse. The Colts took Manning. The Chargers took Leaf, and history wrote itself. Leaf's arm strength was elite, but his ego was stronger. He entered the league arrogant, immature, and allergic to accountability. Within months, he was screaming at reporters and clashing with teammates. On the field, he threw 2 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, and posted a 39.0 passer rating. The meltdown was total. He didn't just fail, he imploded. By year 3, he was out of the NFL entirely. What followed was even darker. Arrests, addiction, and prison time for burglary tied to prescription drug theft. Years later, Leaf rebuilt his life and became a motivational speaker, turning his collapse into redemption. But no comeback can erase the label. Ryan Leaf became the gold standard of failure, the bust that defines all others. Every draft since has been haunted by his shadow. Tony Mandarich. He was called the Incredible Bulk. Tony Mandarich graced Sports Illustrated's cover as the greatest offensive line prospect ever. At 6 feet 6 inches, 315 pounds, he ran a 4.640 and looked like a superhero. The Packers drafted him 2nd overall in 1989, right before Barry Sanders, Derek Thomas, and Deion Sanders. That mistake aged like milk. Mandarich held out for a massive contract, skipped conditioning, and got eaten alive by NFL pass rushers. His confidence vanished, and so did his performance. Years later, he admitted to rampant steroid use in college, painkiller addiction, and mental health battles. Without chemical help, his dominance evaporated. After 3 dreadful seasons, he was gone. To his credit, he fought his way back with the Colts years later, but the legend was already dead. Tony Mandarich wasn't just a bust. He was the symbol of hype gone wrong. Every time a prospect is called can't miss, fans remember how the Incredible Bulk missed everything. Lawrence Phillips. Lawrence Phillips wasn't a football player. He was a ticking time bomb. At Nebraska, he was a force of nature, fast, mean, and unstoppable. But off the field, his violence followed him everywhere. The Rams ignored red flags and drafted him 6th overall in 1996. They believed they could fix him. They couldn't. Phillips fumbled, fought with coaches, and racked up arrests faster than rushing yards. His temper and off-field behavior destroyed his career before it ever truly began. He bounced from the Rams to the Dolphins to the 49ers to the CFL, leaving wreckage behind at every stop. His crimes escalated until 2009. When he was sentenced to 31 years in prison. In 2016, Phillips was found dead in his cell. Ruled a suicide, he was only 40. Few NFL stories end darker than his. Lawrence Phillips is a reminder that some players don't just fail. They self-destruct so completely, they never get the chance to change. Robert Griffin III. For one magical season, Robert Griffin III looked like the future. Drafted 2nd overall in 2012, he exploded out of the gate. 20 passing touchdowns, 7 rushing, a division title, and Offensive Rookie of the Year. He was electric, fearless, and redefining what a quarterback could be. But in the playoffs, his knee gave out, and his career went with it. Head coach Mike Shanahan left him in the game despite a clear injury, leading to a brutal ACL and LCL tear. Griffin rushed back too soon, and the magic never returned. Poor protection, poor coaching, and constant media scrutiny turned the NFL's brightest new star into a fading headline. By 2016, he was benched, released, and rebuilding as a backup. RG Sethi wasn't a bust. He was a victim of bad management and worse luck. He proved that sometimes a franchise can ruin its own savior before the league ever gets the chance. Charles Rogers. Charles Rogers was supposed to be Detroit's savior. A hometown legend from Michigan State, he was drafted second overall in 2003. A dominant wide receiver with speed, size, and hands made for highlight reels. But fate had other plans. In his 5th game as a rookie, he broke his collarbone. The next season, first catch, same bone, snapped again. He never recovered. Injuries robbed him of confidence and rhythm, while off-field substance issues finished the job. Suspensions piled up, and by 2006, he was out of the league entirely, with just 36 career catches. The Lions had drafted a superstar. They got a ghost. Rogers' story is tragic, not because he didn't care, but because his body simply gave out before his talent did. He passed away in 2019 at just 38, another bright flame snuffed out before it ever truly burned. Ki-Jana Carter. He was supposed to be the next great running back. In 1995, the Bengals drafted Ki-Jana Carter first overall, a Penn State powerhouse who looked like Bo Jackson 2.0. Then, 3 carries into his very first preseason game, it was over. Torn ACL. Back then, that injury ended careers, and his never recovered. He lost his burst, his confidence, and eventually his job. Carter fought through 7 injury-riddled seasons, bouncing between the Bengals, Commanders, and Saints, but never once started more than 5 games in a year. He retired with just 1,100 rushing yards and 20 total touchdowns. A tragic number for a number. 1 pick, it wasn't effort, it was fate. Carter's story is the cruel side of the draft. The reminder that sometimes the most promising careers end before they even begin. 1 bad cut, 1 wrong step, and a legend is erased before it's written. Vernon Gholston. At 6 feet 3 inches, 265 pounds, Vernon Gholston looked like he was built in a lab. He ran a 4.640, benched 225 pounds 37 times, and dominated at Ohio State. The Jets made him the 6th overall pick in 2008, convinced he was their next pass rushing nightmare. He wasn't. In 3 full seasons, Gholston never recorded a single sack. Not one. Coaches said he didn't have the motor or instinct for the game, just muscles and measurables. Rex Ryan later admitted Gholston might be the biggest disappointment of his career. It wasn't effort, it was emptiness. He looked the part, but never played it. After a few failed tryouts with the Bears and Rams, he vanished from the league entirely. Vernon Gholston will always be remembered as the ultimate combine illusion, proof that strength, size, and speed mean nothing if you can't turn them into football. Jeff George. Jeff George had the arm of a god and the personality of a grenade. The Colts took him first overall in 1990, betting on his talent. They got the drama instead. George had all the tools: accuracy, power, confidence, but no accountability. He feuded with coaches, blamed teammates, and turned every sideline into a soap opera. His career became a tour of burned bridges. Colts, Falcons, Raiders, Vikings, Washington, each stint ending the same way: fights, finger pointing, and frustration. Yet somehow, he lasted 12 seasons and threw for over 27,000 yards. Jeff George is the definition of wasted potential. A man whose arm could win games, but whose attitude lost locker rooms. He's the cautionary tale that leadership matters more than velocity. The NFL has seen better arms, but few quarterbacks have ever been as gifted and as self-destructive as Jeff George. Art Schlichter. When the Colts drafted Art Schlichter 4th overall in 1982, they thought they were getting a dual-threat quarterback who could save the franchise. Instead, they drafted a gambler. Schlichter's addiction began in college and followed him into the NFL, where he bet on everything, including games he played in. Before he ever threw a touchdown, he was tens of thousands of dollars in debt. The league suspended him, but he never recovered. He forged checks, ran scams, and served multiple prison sentences. His NFL stats: 0 touchdowns, 3 picks. His life stats: a warning about how talent means nothing without discipline. Schlichter's story is less about football and more about addiction-consuming potential. He had the ability to be a star, but couldn't outrun his own vices. It's one of the darkest cautionary tales in league history. And before we move on, only cool people are subscribed to this channel, so hit that button if you haven't already. Justin Blackmon. At Oklahoma State, Justin Blackmon looked unstoppable. Back-to-back Biletnikoff awards. Over 1,500 yards in consecutive seasons. 38 touchdowns in 3 years. The Jaguars thought they drafted a generational wideout when they took him 5th overall in 2012. And early on, it looked that way. A 236-yard rookie game had fans dreaming. But off the field, everything fell apart. A DUI before signing his rookie deal, multiple violations of the NFL's substance abuse policy, an indefinite suspension in 2014. And that was it. Career over at 24 years old. He played just 20 games. Blackmon wasn't a diva, he was a cautionary tale. A player too talented for anyone to give up on, and too troubled for anyone to save. The NFL never saw what he could have become. The Jaguars still haven't recovered from betting big on brilliance undone by addiction. Jeff Okudah. He was supposed to be the next lockdown corner. Coming out of Ohio State, Okudah had elite footwork, height, instincts, everything a defensive coordinator dreams of. The Lions drafted him 3rd overall in 2020, their highest defensive back pick in decades. But reality hit hard. He was torched by veteran receivers, struggled with confidence, and then tore his Achilles in week 1 of year 2. When he came back, he wasn't the same. Detroit traded him to Atlanta for a 5th-round pick. A brutal fall for someone once called can't miss. Injuries, coaching changes, and bad luck turned a top prospect into a journeyman before he ever had a chance to stabilize. By 2024, Okudah was fighting for snaps, another name in the long list of prospects who had the talent but not the fortune to survive the league. Trey Lance. Trey Lance was the ultimate mystery box. North Dakota State phenom, 6'4", cannon arm, 0 interceptions his lone college season. The 49ers were so convinced he was their future that they gave up 3 first-round picks to draft him in 2021. But fate and ankles had other plans. Injuries derailed everything. First a broken finger, then a sprained knee, then a fractured ankle that ended his season. When he finally got healthy, a 7th rounder named Brock Purdy stole his job. Lance looked raw, indecisive, and overwhelmed in limited action. San Francisco cut their losses, trading him to Dallas for a 4th-round pick. One of the most expensive trades in NFL history ended with a backup clipboard. Trey Lance still has potential, but for now, he's a what if. Proof that sometimes the gamble isn't worth the mystery. Sam Darnold. He was supposed to save the Jets. Drafted 3rd overall in 2018, Darnold had the poise, arm talent, and California cool to thrive in chaos. But the Jets gave him nothing. No offensive line, no weapons, no consistency. He showed flashes, especially that dazzling 2019 Cowboys win, but those moments vanished fast. Then came the infamous Seeing Ghosts game against New England, a single quote that defined his downfall. Darnold's mechanics crumbled under pressure and confidence vanished with it. By 2021, he was traded to Carolina, then later bounced to San Francisco as a backup. Still young, still talented, but never the star he was supposed to be. Darnold's career isn't a disaster. It's a reminder that development matters. Even the best prospects drown when the team around them never throws a life raft. Josh Rosen. The Chosen Rosen. That was his nickname at UCLA, a golden-armed, hyper-intelligent quarterback who believed he was built for the NFL spotlight. When the Cardinals drafted him 10th overall in 2018, he infamously said, "There were 9 mistakes made ahead of me." Then reality struck. Arizona was a disaster, terrible O-line. Rookie head coach, no support. Rosen threw 14 interceptions, 11 touchdowns, and 1 year later, the team drafted Kyler Murray and traded Rosen away. From there, it spiraled. Miami, San Francisco, Atlanta, Cleveland, Minnesota. He never started another full season. No injuries, no scandals, just brutal context and a confidence collapse. Rosen's fall was quiet but haunting. He didn't explode, he faded. For a player who thought he'd prove everyone wrong, the silence of his exit said it all. Courtney Brown. At Penn State, Courtney Brown looked like the next Bruce Smith. 6 feet 4 inches, 270 pounds, freakish athleticism, and a school record 33 sacks. Cleveland took him 1st overall in 2000. Convinced they'd found their cornerstone defender. He showed flashes, then came the injuries, torn biceps, dislocated elbow, knee problems, foot issues. Each time he started to turn the corner, something else broke. In 6 seasons, he played just 61 games and recorded 19 sacks. The Browns released him in 2005, and he was out of the league a year later. It wasn't a lack of talent, it was bad luck on repeat. Brown's career reminds fans that some busts aren't lazy or arrogant. They're just unlucky bodies stuck in brutal circumstances. Sometimes talent can't outrun the X-ray. Rick Mirer. He was supposed to be the next Joe Montana. Coming out of Notre Dame, Rick Mirer was everything teams wanted. Polished, composed, a proven leader. The Seahawks took him 2nd overall in 1993, and his rookie season actually looked promising. 2,800 yards, 17 touchdowns, an Offensive Rookie of the Year runner-up. Then came the decline. Mirer's accuracy evaporated, turnovers piled up, and Seattle gave up on him after 4 years. Chicago traded a first-round pick to get him, one of the worst deals in Bears history. He threw 0 touchdowns for them. After bouncing between teams, he quietly disappeared from football. Mirer wasn't reckless or controversial, just underwhelming. He was the template for the looks great in college, not so much in the pros quarterback. His fall was slow, steady, and total. Joey Harrington. The Lions thought they'd finally found salvation in 2002. Joey Harrington was clean-cut, intelligent, and carried the nickname Joey Heisman. Detroit took him 3rd overall to lead their rebuild, but what he walked into was chaos. No protection, no weapons, and no hope. He was sacked, hurried, and battered behind one of the NFL's worst lines. Confidence faded. Fans turned. In 4 years, he threw nearly as many interceptions as touchdowns and won just 18 games. After brief stints in Miami and Atlanta, his career ended quietly. Harrington wasn't talentless. He was trapped, another victim of Detroit's endless cycle of dysfunction. He played piano beautifully off the field, but under center, it was all dissonance. Robert Gallery. Every scout called him a can't-miss lineman. The Raiders made Robert Gallery the 2nd overall pick in 2004, expecting him to be their next cornerstone tackle. Instead, he became the poster boy for overhyped protection. He was huge, athletic, and technically polished at Iowa, but NFL pass rushers devoured him. Too slow for left tackle, too sloppy for right, he was penalized constantly for holding and false starts. After 2 miserable seasons, the Raiders moved him to guard, where he was average at best. But you don't draft average 2nd overall. In a class that produced Larry Fitzgerald, Philip Rivers, and Vince Wilfork, Oakland's choice aged poorly. Gallery hung around for a few years, but never escaped the bust label. Proof that even the safe pick can sink a franchise. Zach Wilson. At BYU, Zach Wilson looked like the next Mahomes. Sidearm lasers, off-platform throws, and absurd confidence. The Jets fell for it, taking him 2nd overall in 2021. But under bright New York lights, the magic disappeared. Wilson's mechanics broke, his reads slowed, and his locker room trust evaporated. After one awful Patriots game, when asked if he'd let the defense down, he said no. That single word lost him the team. He was benched, booed, and replaced by Aaron Rodgers. By 2024, he'd been traded, not as a project, just as a warning. Wilson's fall was brutal because it wasn't about injuries or addiction. It was ego and immaturity under pressure. The kid who once looked effortless now looked lost. The Jets wanted Mahomes. They got a meme. If you liked this one, don't stop here. YouTube already knows the perfect next video for you, so click it and see why.